Hey, everybody. Thank you very much for checking out the first edition of Hyperized, where I am your host, Hyperdrive, and I'm going to, once every month, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to speak with a featured artist who is really contributing a lot to the hobby, the customizing community, the diorama building, painting. And I think I have a really good first guest to start this off. And this is none other than Timbo Toys. Timbo, you want to say hey for a minute?
Hey, hello. Honored to be on the show. So thank you.
Oh, it's a pleasure, man. I've enjoyed your work, and you and I have known each other now for about a year, off and on, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And we've contributed to each other's works, and we've actually kind of almost, in a way, we've sort of collaborated on some things in ways that we don't even. I get inspired by you, you get inspired by
Yeah.
me, and we've done some really interesting things. So,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
Your Rit Dye videos, I think, are some of the first ones I remember watching on your channel, and uh, and then putting it into practice. And so, yeah.
A lot of people, the Rit dye is a tricky thing. Not everybody gets it on the first time, and it's more than just heating up the Rit dye and letting it cook. There's a certain
Yes.
technique to it.
Yes.
You want to get into that for a second, and how do you have such great success? Because man, you've really picked that up and run with it.
Yeah. Sure. And I can certainly testify to not getting it right the first time because I went out, after I think I watched your series on it, just, felt like, okay, I can do this. So went to the hobby store and bought some Rit dye, came back, did everything, really let that figure sit in the Rit dye, pulled it out, nothing happened. And that's when I learned the importance of getting the synthetic Rit dye.
Right,
So
right.
I bought just
Yeah.
the normal. It was a green color that I liked, and I didn't pay attention to, whether or not it said synthetic, because that's what you have to have. If you don't get the synthetic, it doesn't work, and I can
Right.
testify to that.
Exactly. And I've done a lot of how-to videos and everything, and I always specify synthetic, but I think sometimes people just get really excited. They're at the hobby store, they see the first bottle of Rit dye, they see that great big RIT, and they say, "Hot
Yeah,
dog, I just did it," right? But you
yeah,
gotta in the subtext, it specifies synthetic, and that's the whole ball game. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and it's a lot of fun to just see what happens. I mean, you kind of have an idea, but like what you were talking about, there's almost kind of a certain um, I don't know, a certain degree of like, where you're not in control of what's going to happen, even though you may think and mostly get it right. Some of the parts may be just a slightly different plastic, made of a slightly different plastic. So they take the dye just a little bit differently. And so sometimes you have to kind of work with that. I had one figure that I did the dye on, and the entire figure came out really, really cool, except the waist, like the crotch area, like for some reason that part didn't die at all.
Right.
And and so it just, it looked great except for that one little part. So that's when, I had to go in and do some customization, and I made like a almost like a knapsack pouch,
Right.
um, type of thing to cover that up.
Well, I'm a big fan of yours, and I watch all of the things that you do, and you use two
Oh, thank
figures
you.
frequently that I love to use, and that would be the Black Series Ned B figure from the
Oh,
Obi-Wan
yes.
Kenobi show, and I also like to use the Republic Sentry droid. That's another one that I've used a couple of times.
Okay. Okay.
But the Ned B figure that you use, as well as other droid parts and pieces, um, you use the Rit dye so effectively, and the great thing about it is that you no longer, if you know, once you get the technique down, the Rit dye is the answer for joints, for paint rub, for all of those things. You never have to worry about it
Yeah.
again.
That's what I like about it.
And you have really mastered that with a lot of the way the droids look. And the droids themselves, most droids have a metallized undersuit or substructure. There's an armor plating that goes over the droids, and they always seem to take well to the Rit dye. And
Yeah.
then you have the metallized undersuit, which sort of stays metallic,
Hmm.
more or less. But everything that you've done, do you have any of those figures at the ready right there that you could just sort of show off real quick?
Yeah, yeah,
All right,
absolutely. Give me just a
let's see a
sec.
couple.
Let me grab just a couple of the main ones I think that you're probably thinking of. So we've got first this guy right here.
Oh,
Um,
that's the one, man. That is so beautiful.
and let me know if the angle's wrong here or if
Oh, it
you're.
looks beautiful.
Yeah, and I did he comes in yellow. And so I think I remember hearing you talk about how you can mix colors and things like that and get them to change to a different color. And so I thought, well, if I get red and I combine it with this yellow, it's going to be come out to be an orange. And that's exactly,
Hmm.
he's a very deep red. And you can kind of see his arm here, how it came out just a slightly a shade lighter. That was
Right.
nothing that I did paint wise. This part's still pretty blue. I was kind of thinking with the red dye and the blue, it would turn purple.
Hmm.
And it still, kind of stayed for the most part purple. And the other one I have is this green one here. And this was a carbonized version of the Ned B. And I wanted to see, how he would take the dye with being carbonized, and it seems like he took it fine.
Yeah.
But I'm a big fan of the color green, so really like this one. One thing I have not tried yet with these that you mentioned was that how you can go back and dye them again.
Right. Right.
And so
Yeah.
I kind of wondered if I were to actually try dyeing him green again, would he become a richer green?
So in my experience, the answer is yes.
Okay.
So now I've done it a couple of times, and so um, what I do is a lot of times, I like to do a lot of GI Joe customization, classified figures,
Yes.
and so skin tones. This is a great technique for dyeing Caucasian skin brown or Asian color or any of those things, because the darker you go, the more success it is. You can't really dye anything lighter than its original dark color, but you can go darker. And so if you have a Caucasian GI Joe and you want to dip it into the darker RIT dye, it will work very well. And in this case, I happen to have a figure here that I'm working on. This is GI Joe. This is a dreadnought that I've been doing, and I've taken some liberties with tattoos and things. And you can see how the RIT dye, it gets into those joints, and it just sort of makes everything come a little bit more alive. You can see it in the face. There's just more of a flesh tone to it, uh, where it gets darker around the joints, and where the sun might hit the figure. It's just a very satisfying technique, and it brings that dead Hasbro plastic to life. And so in your case, I think that if you were to have that green dyed figure, if you were to dip it into a green color, a darker green color, I do believe that it would go darker green. So I've done the same thing with that skin tone. So I've taken skin tone that I've dyed that kind of color that I just showed, and I've turned it
Hmm.
into a much darker skin tone.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
but you
I.
might want to test it before you go the whole way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Testing. Yeah. Really important. So.
yeah. And but also along with the RIT eye, you are a very skilled builder of buildings and set pieces and things like this. And I have been a huge fan of your series where you have the mall, you have the cantinas, you have the custom figures, which are their own little works of art. But it's the backdrop, the lighting, and all of the things that you do that make it so awesome. Tell me a
Hmm.
little bit about what you're working on right now. What's your next creation?
Well, I've got a couple things that kind of on the back burner. Probably the bigger one, and I really have not started any of the build part of this, is a 1/12 scale record store for my mall.
Right,
So it'd
right.
be, a 1/12 scale sci-fi-ish kind of record store. Um, and I always start with, well, I mean, there's the idea, but then I try to kind of sketch it out on a piece of paper,
Right.
just to kind of visually see it and give me a reference to kind of go back to. And so I've done that with it. And then I've just been really collecting like some pieces, to put in it. Like I've got like a little miniature lava lamp. it doesn't actually work, but it looks like a lava lamp. And
Right.
I've got a couple of jukeboxes that I found, that I want to use in that some way. I might have to kind of repaint them a little bit just to, give them a better look.
Yeah.
And then I've been making like some little 112 scale records, and you've gotten some of those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so those are kind of fun to make. Just want to have a lot of records. So I've been just kind of on the lookout too for something that I could use that would be like a center shelving area where the records would be in, so like people could come and like peruse them, like some kind of like shelving where like you might find at a record store, where it puts the records in front of you and you can kind of flip through them.
Hmm.
I'm looking for something like that. You know, Obviously, for me, I find these things in other things, so it might be like another kind of toy, or something maybe in the utensils aisle at Walmart, or
Right.
just so I'm on the on the search for something like that. Haven't found it yet, but yeah, just been collecting some things and just kind of getting some posters, things like that I want on the wall.
Yeah.
Um, and thinking a lot about, those music stores in the 90s that I used to go visit. I didn't know if, you did that too as well.
Oh yeah.
Um,
You better believe it.
yeah, it was looking more for CDs, but, this will be actual vinyl records, but, very similar. So,
Remember when you used to buy cassettes and they would come in that long plastic thing and it
yeah.
was like remember, and they had a key that you had to bring it up to the counter, and there
Oh,
was like
yeah.
this plastic key and it would unlock it and all of that, and yeah,
Yeah, that was yeah, those things were definitely interesting. So,
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, so that's one of the future builds that I've been working on. I did you know have I do collect some NECA TMNT figures.
Hmm.
And so, I thought it'd be really cool to have a street type diorama for them.
That's
Um,
cool. That's very cool.
and yeah, so decided I would try and make something like that, and I probably can show you that here if you want me
Oh
to.
yeah, please. Let's see it.
um, I'm just going to take a second here just to flip the camera around. I'm pretty sure I know how to do it, but
It's like a Geraldo episode. We're like going live into the streets here. I love it.
yeah. Okay, I think I've got it here, so
Oh, there we go.
let's see. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
so um
Oh, that looks great.
yeah, so yeah, start over here on this side. This was the first piece that I built, like a street scene, and then got made a fence with like another fence behind it to kind of
Yep.
close that off. Um, and I just built like I didn't make the phone, I didn't make the fire hydrant. I did make this little sewer topper piece here, and that's just a piece of wood with a printed sewer top cover on it to kind of look like that. Um, but I did make the window, and shortly after making the window, I think I was at one of the hobby stores and realized that they actually sell windows.
Right.
So
Right.
I could have just bought one. That would have saved me some time. But hey, I made it. And one of the things, as you can see, there's the phone and the light there. And what I did is made this generator-looking thing to be the battery pack that turns the lights on. And so
Oh, that's fantastic.
turn that off,
Oh,
the
look at
lights
that.
off. You can kind of
Tim.
see, the lights. It's got lights there in the street light over the phone, but also kind of back behind the window too as well.
Timbo.
Yeah.
That gets a round of applause right there. That looks beautiful, man. That's
Yeah.
good
Thank you.
work. Good work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, and then, the shelving I had, this piece looked kind of small and I had the rest of it to go. So that's when I decided, oh, I'm going to make, a little bit more here of the wall. And so of the back, streets area. So we got R&B's Chop Shop, might stand for rock steady and bebop, but
Right, right.
whatever. um, but, similar here, this, I've got a light that's permanently on in this. But I'm just going to move a couple of these guys here so you can see this. But back here in the back, um, got this little box back here, and it's another light, to be able to turn on and turn this one off. You got the light kind of at the corner right there. And then I put a light up here atop the sign because without it, you can't really see the sign
Right, right.
when the lights are off. So, so that's that piece there. And so I'm just going to turn both lights on so you can kind of see the whole thing here, but at night. So yeah, there's the street light there for that one. And then, you know, there's kind of the whole scene. I also thought, hey, this might be actually a cool, I could say it's also the, a part like round back of my mall,
Right.
that
Absolutely. Yeah.
people kind of come and gather. And um, but yeah, and then I'm working on a dojo type diorama, and I've got Panda Khan here with that. I'll have Usagi Yojimbo to put in that, but I want to build kind of a dojo type thing. Um, and I just found actually this curtain piece, actually at an antique store. I think it's some kind of gaming
Yeah.
um, cover type thing, which I thought,
Hmm.
I could use to fit in. But that's a work in progress. I was also working on like a sewer type scene,
Yeah.
and I'm just not completely happy with this one yet. But those are just a couple things that
Well,
are on the table.
that's the thing. I think you and I share that sort of uh, notion that if you're not satisfied with something, you just got to redo it. There comes a point where you go, no matter how much time and effort you put into something, I'm the type of person where I know if it's going to be salvageable or I know it's not going to work. And
Yes.
it looks to me like you and your craft, you don't want to put something out there that's second rate or cut rate. You want to put out the best you can,
Yeah.
and that's
Absolutely.
that's that's so important, right? And to me, I think that sewer looks really really good, and I can see where you're going in the ultimate design of it. But if it's not up to your par, up to your standards, it doesn't matter how many people say it looks good. You're not gonna
Yeah.
put it out there yet, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. It's just got some the angle it sits at kind of drives me nuts because it's not perfectly flat. And
right.
so, just something, yeah, I definitely want to tweak a little bit.
Well,
So
so speaking of that, so I recently did a diorama, and it was called it was this was
oh
the
yes.
tent for the Tuscan Raider encampment, and this took me about. It also has a light up element. So this right here is a campfire, and it's got a
Yes.
small LED switch on the bottom. I actually took the felt off to show you, but it's got a small LED switch, and at night it lights up. And I did a video on it and all of these things.
Yes.
But so this tent is about the fifth version of the tent because I couldn't get it right. And what I realized was I really wanted to keep that Attack of the Clones thematic look uh, as a big part of the piece. But I am not a slave to making it exactly movie accurate. So I like
Mm.
to live somewhere in between movie accurate and my own interpretation, but it's recognizable as what it is supposed to be. So,
Yeah.
there are times where I'll make something incredibly movie accurate, but I think it's more fun to make it your own, right?
Yes.
And so I was trying to work in these parameters of I want to make it my own. I want it to be Anakin's scene. I want it to be a Tuscan Raider thing. And 5 or 6 attempts into it, I finally got it right. And I think that's the thing is, work with it until you realize that you can't save it. And then it's better to just start over because in your mind, you know what you want it to look like. And if it's not going in the right direction, I have to stop and I have to do it over again,
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Been there. And yeah, and one of the things I really enjoy about building in a sci-fi world is that, it's a struggle for me to kind of do something exactly like what's already created. And
Right.
so I feel like there's some freedom to, create things that are different, like I don't have to, have the exact same color of the walls or,
Right.
the decor, like I can create my own. Kind of like
Exactly.
what they were doing when they made Star Wars, they're making all this stuff and they get to design what it looks like. And,
Right.
they don't really have a pattern, to look at to copy. And, So just being able to do things on my own, and my own interpretation of a cantina. I've got the 112th comic store, the 112th donut shop.
Right.
Just had a lot of fun, making those things that were not there, and I just got to kind of create.
Those, the comic shop, the donut shop, the mall, the cantinas in particular, your work is just tremendous, and I find it so much more interesting. If you were to make a 1-to-1 scale of the Star Wars cantina, well, that would be the 10,000th version of a custom movie accurate cantina. We have one
Hmm.
coming out in the vintage collection.
Yeah,
So I look at it like, okay, it's been done and done and done. I want to do my own version.
yeah.
And the way you handle those projects is exactly the way I would. I love you use your own colors, you have your own color palette, you have your own scale, you have your own characters and vision. And you're right, that's exactly what George Lucas was doing. It's it's
Hmm.
it's really not your vision if you're just recreating exactly what was there before,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. There's
And
certainly
so,
some fun to doing, trying to recreate things.
yeah,
Um,
sure.
but yeah, I have a lot more fun if I can say, hey, let's, like the 112th record store, that I'm
Right.
working on next. Like I'm, having a ton of fun just thinking about that, and what I might have in that, how a Star Wars record store, will be different from a modern day record store.
Right.
Um, and also thinking about who will run that, who will be the owner. So for my comic shop, it just worked out that Jackson, he was a character that
Oh yeah, I love
was,
Jackson.
yeah, he was introduced in the comics, in the
Right.
Marvel comics, and he's this 6 foot tall green rabbit type creature, and so just worked out that I'd make him the owner. Um,
That's really cool. Yeah. Yeah, because
so,
it's fun. We have this huge palette of characters in figure form now, in so many different
oh
scales. You
yeah,
got you got almost an endless variety of figures to use. And you're right. It's better. It's more fun. Make your own. Make your own. Instead of making Wurr's Cantina, make Jackson's Cantina, because that's
yeah,
going to be really, really cool. And
yeah,
I just love it. So if you're new to customizing and you happen to find this podcast, I urge you to check out Timbo's work. Timbo's work is really fun. He's been on the Stoned and Hyper show. I co-host a show with Stone Mandalorian, another YouTuber, and he and I sit down every other Saturday. We've had Timbo on as a guest, and he's shared a lot of his work with us. He's fantastic. And if you get a chance, please check out the Stone Mandalorian's channel as well. He's a really high quality YouTuber, does a lot of reviews
yeah,
and things, and he's even thrown his hat into the customizing world and
yeah. He's done
diorama
a great
building.
job.
He really has, and I know he's followed some of your tutorials and some of mine, and really good results. He had never built one before,
Yeah,
and he followed some of our instruction, and he really did a fantastic job.
yeah,
So
yeah. I love seeing he did that custom Mandalorian
yeah, that's right.
that I thought turned out really, really well. Kind of I think it was browns, and there's a lot of
Yes.
browns, different shades of browns, and I just really like the look of it.
So that's one thing I was going to ask you about. So your color palette is so vibrant. How did you get there? Because it's sort of outside of the realm of what we would call traditional Star Wars palettes, I think,
Mm.
because it's the lighting and there's so many different bright colors, and yet somehow it works. How did you come up with that your own flavor?
I mean, I honestly, I think it's just I kind of gravitate towards some certain colors. Like I just like them, and so that's kind of like what I use. A lot of times it's greens and blues,
Mhm. Yeah, very
um,
much so.
but I think it's just I see a color I like and think, oh, that's kind of a cool color. It'd be cool for I don't know, a jacket or something. Not just do you want me to
Yeah,
show a couple that you might be
absolutely.
thinking of
Yeah.
that maybe fit that what you're talking about? Here's
Yes.
a custom Ugnut.
Yes.
If I'm hopefully saying that right, but blue jacket, brown pants. Actually, the Fern body from Skeleton Crew,
Hmm.
and then Quill's head, and then I gave him a crossbow. I think was from Jana, or a
Right. Right.
yeah. Um,
The Rise of Skywalker.
Anyways, Rise of
Yeah.
Skywalker. Yeah, I couldn't think of what that was. And then this guy here was really excited with how he came out because to me it was probably the most boring figure in the world originally. And it was and I don't remember what planet it was, but it was like the Mandalorian in disguise.
Oh yeah, right. And he's got the very drab trooper.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
Wow, look
And
at that.
I did think obviously a cool design, and I love the show, but the figure itself I thought just was kind of a boring color.
Hmm.
And I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna really try to change him, make him space. That's actually like a bubblegum machine, like a bubblegum
I love it.
thing that I tried to make him kind of this alien, that needs, a special, breathing mask. And he's actually painted. His face is painted kind of a orange and red, and his hair's got some orange, red, and blue in it. Just I was trying to make him look really unique under the helmet. Like
Hmm.
you might recognize that. It's something that's an alien underneath there, but. Um,
That is
but
really cool, man. Yeah.
yeah, well, thank you. And then this one was if you recognize the helmet, it's that Zori Bliss helmet, but on the May body. And then I did paint, gave her
Wow,
like
that
some
looks
purple
fantastic.
and gold, tried to do like some gold highlights too. So it kind of all match.
Now, did you
Um,
paint or writ dye some of that, or both?
I just painted,
Painted. Yep.
Yep. Yeah, all of these three figures I just showed you were ones that I painted. Um, This was the one we were talking earlier that I did the Rit dye on, and
Yes.
she, it's a rose figure, but her waist area was what I was telling you. It didn't die for some reason,
Hmm.
and so I created, like an apron type thing. I don't know what you call that, a utility belt. I made her my maintenance person. Put some, the R2, R5 droid tools in there,
Yeah.
and just gave her, a little apron, utility belt to kind of hide, that part that didn't die. Um, and
Tim, you've covered. You would never know that there was anything wrong with it. It looks so intentional. It doesn't look like it was a
uh,
mistake or
thank you.
covering anything. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and it's interesting. I think I used blue dye. So the original figure was, I think, kind of like a yellowish color.
Right. Yeah.
And the blue and the yellow kind of turned her green. But then the face, I didn't do anything other than I did paint some dots on her face
Hmm.
just to kind of give it some, like an alien type look. But she just came out a really, interesting color. And I was actually thinking originally I was going to replace, her head with an alien type head, but
Right.
I thought the way she came out looking, the hands and everything, of course I added the dots, but yeah, I just decided, hey, she actually came out pretty cool. I think I can make a custom out of that. So
What I think is
um,
funny is you have just selected three figures at random, three figures that I absolutely adore for customs: Zori Bliss, Queel, and Rose, because
mm,
they're just a blank canvas. You can do so many things with those. And I thought one of the greatest things to come out of the sequel trilogy was Zori Bliss's helmet and suit.
oh
That
yeah,
is one for the ages. And say
yeah,
what you will about the film, she was a gorgeously designed character, so much potential for so many interesting builds and things. And Rose is just a woman in a jumpsuit, and that is sort of the basis behind every rebel technician, or it's so many ways you can go with that. So,
yeah.
oh,
This
look at
is
that.
that's
Oh
a
man,
custom Zori. I mean, I didn't touch her armor because her armor, like her helmet,
yeah,
she has like a wash on her armor and
it's
stuff, and it
beautiful. Yeah,
looks really good. But I just painted that maroon. I painted it blue.
that is an outstanding looking figure, man. Wow.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really cool just to be able to, take a figure like that and just change the color of it and make her kind of a blue design. The other one that I did, which is a Zori Bliss body, I did change the head. Was my female Rhodian here,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
again, I kept that gold bronze color and just um, repainted her kind of a purple, and then had like some different shades of purple in there too. That just wanted to make the uniform look like it's slightly used. So
yeah.
if you do different shades, it's darker down here and it kind of gets lighter towards the top. But that was fun too. just it's a great figure. And the reason I have so many of those was because we have. Do you guys have ollies?
We do. Yep.
Yeah.
Not far. Yeah, about an hour from me, but yes.
Okay. Yeah, we have the ollies, and they were running a special where the Black Series figures that they had, which were already discounted to like $9 or $10, they were like
Mhm.
half off. And so,
Go
you
nuts,
know,
right? You gotta go nuts. Yep.
yeah, I mean, you get some, just ordering a Black Series head, online can cost anywhere from, $10 to $20.
Right.
And
Right.
so if you can find an alien at Ollie's for like $5, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
you've got potentially a body and a head that you could use for a custom.
Well, Timbo, I want to thank you very much for taking us on a tour of your current and past works. And man, thank you so much. I think this was a really good first episode. Shots fired, right? Like
Yeah,
we got this good. And I just want to thank you so much for being my first guest. And
it's an
hopefully this will
honor.
be the start of good things to come. And I'd like to have you on again, maybe in another
I'd love
couple of
to.
months. Maybe we'll do it again and see what projects that you've shown us are kind of in production by then. So we will come back and revisit this. So
Sounds great.
Timbo, thank you so much. I appreciate the time. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Stay tuned for episode 2. We'll have another guest and we'll break down another artist. Thank you.
See ya.